Hey folks, Steven from BS Ratings. Back today for a little tutorial. Don't have the kiddos here today. Doing this one kind of on my own. I was thinking of something that would be fun. I love Sudoku, and I have a dear neighbor, old gentleman, retired, enjoying his retirement life. Ran into him, and he had a good old Reader's Digest with him, and it had opened to the Sudoku page and had pencil marks everywhere and racings through it all the way through the page. He was just frustrated as all get out. But he said he wanted to learn how to play the game. And he just was having the hardest time. Lots of tutorials on it, but I thought I'd have fun with it and walk everyone through it in my own little way. I've got 4 basic rules that help solve any game. If you go through the 4 basic rules, sometimes you got to do it a couple times, you'll find all the solutions. So first of all, start off with what Sudoku is. Sudoku is a number game. If it comes to words, I'm horrible at it. I can't spell, I can't think of antonyms and synonyms and all that good stuff. So Sudoku is a game about numbers and simple numbers, just counting 1 to 9. Not really any heavy math there. The basic layout of a game is 9 squares, and then each of the squares is 9 more squares. Spot for the numbers 1 to 9. So the idea is to have 1 through 9 both horizontally and vertically and in the small squares without having any of them overlap. So you can't have 2 of the same number horizontally, vertically, or in the squares. So you'll have 1 to 9, all 3 directions without them overlapping. So that's how you play. Now the first rule is very standard. It's just the standard 9 count. So given that you're looking for 1 to 9 in a row, if they give you 8 of the numbers, well then the last spot there is for the 9th one. And that finishes off a row, a column, or a small square. And so you'll just write that in a big number. The second rule that I have to help solving is single elimination. So if you have to have a number 4 in a box, but there's already a 4 horizontally, it eliminates the options for 4 to go in those spots. If you have a 4 vertically, it'll eliminate spots for a 4. So it may eliminate available spots. There can only be 1 spot that number can go in. Single elimination. So that goes both horizontally, vertically, and inside the square. If you've got a number inside the square, you can't have that same number anywhere else. So if you've got a horizontal line that needs a particular number, but there's one in a square above or in the middle or below, you know that in that particular column you can't share that same number. The third one is a little more tricky. I call it a ghost elimination. So far, the first 2 steps, they give you the answer when you eliminate them. So you can just write that number in a big way, kind of like we consider that a pen mark. Now there are the next 2 eliminations, which will eliminate where a certain number can go, but it doesn't give you the solution. So there may be a particular number. In this case here, there's an 8. Well, it can't be in the top row in the center block, so that you know that it is one of the ones in the middle. So that will help to eliminate the center blocking, and it will give you the solution. But the first blocking, you have pencil marks. You'll write the number really small if you'd like to write that in, but it gives you an elimination of without giving you the solution entirely of where that number can go. So you'll see that in a lot of cases as they get harder. Sudoku games are numbered by difficulty, by stars, 1 to 5. 1 being the most simplest and 5 being more difficult. And if you get to enjoying the difficult games, there are in fact many more difficult games beyond the 5 stars. There are ones that don't give you any solutions and just give you mathematical problems within a certain area. There's ones that use other game rules to fill in what the numbers could be. So it gets really complicated and fun and enjoyable. The one thing I do like about Sudoku, there's only one answer. There can't be any other way. So if you're guessing, then don't guess. Don't write a number if you think it's it. There should be a 0 probability that is the number, you write it in, and you're set. Now the fourth option, this fourth step for solving the Sudoku game is something I call a double elimination. So you might have two boxes that can be two different numbers. Well, if it's going to be two different numbers and you have those two numbers, even though you may not know if one's a 1 or one's a 2, but you know one of them is a 1 and one of them is a 2, well then those are the only two spots that a 1 and 2 can be. So that tells you one thing. That tells you that that row or that column is going to be a 1 or a 2, but it also tells you that inside the box or inside the row and the column, there can't be any other 1s or 2s. So double elimination shortens down where those numbers can be, but again, it doesn't give you a definitive solution for that number, but it will help later on when you start solving. So double elimination. So those are the 4 steps. It's just standard 9 count, doing a single elimination and verifying which numbers can't be in those certain rows. A ghost elimination, where you're able to deduce a certain row, column, or square that can't be a certain number, and that might help solve a definitive number for a different spot. And then double elimination, where you have two numbers that can be in two spots, that rules out any other rows, columns, or that square of being those two numbers. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to play a game and work through those steps with you, and I'll post some other games that I'll play and go through again those 4 steps so you can see how that's done.
All right, folks, here we go. This is our first Sudoku game. This is rated easy, just a single star. So when I play this game, I do a lot of counting, just 1 to 9s back and forth. So the first thing I do is I look for the rows, the columns, and the squares, and I try to find one that has the least numbers. So like the center square here, we see that there are just 2 openings. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is missing. Then we've got a 6, 7 is missing, 8, and 9. So we know that these 2 are a 5 and a 7. Well, right over here next to us, we have a 5 and we have a 7. So they knock each other out here. This says that this one cannot be a 5. So this bottom one is a 5. And of course, this 7 here, and by elimination, there's only one number left. This can only be a 7. Okay. So that's what we try to do, is pick the spots that have the least numbers missing, and that makes it easier to fill them. So this column right here is missing a couple numbers. So I'll start to count 1, and then I need a 2. Well, by elimination, with this being a 2, and there can't be any other 2s in the square, I know that these 2 squares right here can't be a 2. This is the only one left to be a 2, so that one has to be a 2. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm missing a 6. So one of these 2 have to be a 6. So I look both through my rows and my columns and my square to see if I can eliminate a 6 for one of these 2 squares. And I can. There's a 6 right here. It says it cannot be a 6. So that means this one has to be a 6. Then we've got 7, 8, and we're missing a 9. Well, there's one block left for 9. So we put a 9 in there. Okay, so then we just select the next one. Now this square up here to the left looks promising. So we've got a number 1. Now we're going to look for a number 2. Now I see here that there's a number 2 right here, so that tells me that there can't be any other 2s horizontally, there can't be any other 2s vertically, and there can't be any other 2s in this box right here. So with none being horizontal, these 2 squares here cannot be a 2. Therefore, this one has to be a 2. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got a 5 that's missing and a 6 that's missing. So we look horizontally and we look vertically. Oh, look at that. There's a 5. That eliminates this box from being a 5. So we know this box is a 5. So there's only one left in this square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one has to be a 6. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. We just look for the next squares here. So let's look at this bottom right one. It looks like there's only 3 empty spots. We've got a 1. We need a 2. So we look vertically for a 2. Here's 1. So there's no other 2s vertically. And here's a 2 horizontally. So this 2 eliminates these 2 as being available for a 2, which means this square here has to be a 2. So we've got 1, 2. We're missing a 3. So we look horizontally, there's no 3. We look vertically, there's no 3. And we look in the box, there's no 3. So right now, we cannot determine which one of these two leftover squares is a 3. The other number we're missing here, let's see, we got 4, 5, 6 is a 7. So we look for a 7 horizontally. We look for a 7 vertically in these two, and we don't have that. So one of these is a 3 and one of them is a 7. We don't know it right now, and that is okay. You're not always going to find the answers using those rules one at a time. You might have to solve a couple others, and then we'll give you these solutions a little bit later. So let's look at some other rows and some other columns here. This column here has just 3 blocks missing. And the first number that's missing is a 1. So I'm just counting my numbers here. 1. Sometimes I'll count forward. Sometimes I'll count backwards. If I see that there's a 9, sometimes I'll start and go 9, 8, 7 down. But right here, there's a 1. So I know this square is not a 1. So that means one of these two has to be a 1. But I don't have any way of eliminating that. That's okay. So then I've got a 2. And then I've got a 3. So this could be a 3. Can this one be a 3? Nope, there we go. There's a horizontal block there. Can this one be a 3? Nope, there's a horizontal block there. So this one has to be a 3. We've got a 4, we've got a 5, we've got a 6, we've got a 7, we've got no 8. So these two blocks, one of them is a 1 and one of them is an 8. And I have no other 1s or 8s to tell me which one is which one. So that's as far as I can go with this column at the moment. Now this row right here only has 2 spots left. So we have a 1, we have a 2, we have a 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we need a 7. So can there be a 7 here? No, because vertically that 7 knocks that out. This one has to be a 7. 8, and then we need a 9. See, this 9 would have knocked 9 being out here, which also, it's the beauty of it, the numbers can only fit in one spot. So 9. So there we go. We filled out that row. So let's look at this box here. Let's look for a 1. And we see that this one here eliminates these bottom 2 from being a 1. And this one vertically eliminates the 2 squares to the right. So this top middle one has to be a 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're looking for a 6. Okay, I have no way of blocking anything horizontally or vertically from a 6, so I don't have that. 7. Let's look for 8. Okay, so here's an 8. So I know this box cannot be an 8, but there's nothing, so I have 2 that could be an 8. Now what about 9? So see this 9 here, how it blocks 9 coming down vertically, and then we do have a 9 horizontally. So that means this one is the only one can be 9. Now that helps us out because we were just saying that 8 could be one of these two, but 9 just took the bottom square, so that means the top square has to be 8. So now we see that we've just filled this square in all but one, which we go back and we see that that's a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that square is now done. You see how they're kind of helping each other out there? So let's see, what's the next one we want to look at? We'll look for some that have some rows and columns. Let's look at this bottom middle one here. So I'm going to start counting with 1. So we need a 1 in one of these 4 spots. We'll see this one tells us that these two can't be a 1. And we have a 1 here that says this one can't be a 1. So this, out of those 4 spots, it's the only one that could be a 1. We've got a 2. Now we need a 3. Now up here in the top, there's a 3 that blocks this fella right here. So this one's not a 3. So one of these two is a 3. We know these are a 3, okay? And then we need a 4. Now look, it's just like the 1. Here we've got a 4 that blocks these two from being a 4, which leaves this one as a 4. And then we've got a 5, 6, and then there's 7. So we've got a 3 and a 7 that have to go here. Now because we filled out this top block, this middle one here, we see that there's a 7 right here. So we know that is a 7, and we know that is a 3. See how we're filling that out? Okay. So we're moving along quite nicely here. Let's look at some other numbers here. Let's look at this row right here. So let's look for a 1. So we can't have a 1 here because of this one. We can't have a 1 here because of this one, which tells us this is the only one left that can have a 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we need a 7. So one of these two is a 7, but I don't have any way of eliminating it vertically. All right, so we need an 8. Now there we go. We've got an 8 that eliminates this square. So we have an 8 here, which eliminates this one to being a 7. So that's sometimes we'll find another number that will eliminate it and leave only one square back. So, okay, we've got that one. Let's move on to the next one. Let's look at this column right here. We've got a 1, we've got a 2, 3, 4, and we need a 5. So this 5 blocks this one being a 5. So one of these two is a 5. I don't have anything else horizontally that can stop those from being a 5. So the next number I could just move on to is 6. Okay, that could be a 6. That could be a 6. All those could be 6s. Let's look at 7. Now, with this being a 7, this small square, this is the only 7 that can be in here. And you also have other 7s here that block out these two from being 7, which means this one is the only one that can be a 7. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got a 5 and a 6 on these two guys right here. And that's where we would do the little pencil mark to help us remember which is which. But we're going to go fairly quick here. So let's look at this block here. So let's look for a 1. So we've got this one here that tells us these 3 cannot be a 1 horizontally. And we do have a 1 down here. Tells us these 2 cannot be a 1 vertically. So this is the last one we have. 1, 2, 3. Now we need a 4. Now we're going to look horizontally. There's a 4. This one cannot be a 4. We're going to look vertically. This 4 here eliminates these two. And this 4 here eliminates this one. So 4 can only go in this square here. Now we need a 5. Okay. So 5, we've already seen that there's really not anything blocking the 5 or the 6. We've said these two here have to be a 5 and a 6. Remember earlier with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's a 7 and an 8. So we already know that these two numbers are a 5 and a 6. This would be a perfect example of a double elimination, the fourth step, because if these two are a 5 and a 6, no matter how else you divvy it out, this one here has to be a 9. Now this 9 here is going to eliminate these two and it's going to make it a 9. But if you were missing some other ones and these two had to be a 5 and a 6, that would be a perfect example to show a double elimination to giving you a number. Okay, so we still know these are a 5 and a 6. Now, see down here, we're getting to where there's only 2 spots left, and that makes them really simple and quick here. So we've got a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. So we're missing a 5 in this one here. Now, here's a 5 right here horizontally. So we know this can't be a 5, so the bottom one's a 5. And then the next number is a 6, and so it's the only spot left in the 6. So we can go again vertically on this column, or we can look at it the little square because there's just 2 spots regardless of how we break that down. So we've got a 1, we've got a 2, so we're missing a 3, a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a 9. So we need a 3 or a 9. And look at this right here. We've got a 9, so that tells us this one cannot be a 9. Puts us as a 9 and puts us as a 3. A lot of times they'll try to trick you by eliminating, giving you 2 options. So you just got to find the elimination for 1, and that tells you the last 2. Okay, so let's look up here at the top right square here. You can see here in this column, there's only 1 box left. So that one's a really easy one to solve. We just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 is the number that's missing there. So we put that in there. So let's do a 1, and we need a 2 in this square up here. So we see horizontally, the bottom 2 can't be a 2. And vertically, the 2 on the right can't be a 2. So that only leaves us with the top middle square as being available for a 2. Now we need a 3. Now we see horizontally, the top 3 says the top square can't be a 3. And in the middle square, the 3 eliminates the middle square from being a 3. So the only one that can be a 3 is the one on the right. Now at this point, you can see the right column and the middle column only have 1 spot left. So you can just do a single count, and that'll give you those answers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one has to be a 5. We've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 is the only number left. That's going to also then solve these next 2 here. So we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this has to be a 5 or a 6, and we see that there's a 5 here. So this one has to be a 5, which allows this one to be a 6. Okay, we're almost done. A couple more boxes here and we're ready to go. So we've got a 1, we've got a 2. So we need a 3. So we've got a 3 here at the bottom that stops these bottom 2, but these top 2, either one can be 3. We don't have anything vertically that can stop the 3. So let's look at the 4s. Okay, here's a 4. Same thing with the 3 here. So it can't be a 4 at the bottom. There's nothing vertically that tells us So these top two, one is a 3 and one is a 4. Then we've got a 5, we've got a 6. We're missing a 7. So this top one here is a 7. It says these top two can't be a 7. And we finally have one vertically that eliminates the 2, 7 vertically. So that leaves us just with one number. And then we'll see on the bottom row there that we're just missing an 8. Okay, so that solves that. And then we look back at the center square. We've got a 1, we've got a 2. We're missing a 3. Okay, we've got a 3 at the bottom. That tells us the top two, one of those has to be a 3. We're going to look for a 4. And so here's a 4, which tells us one of the bottom two is a 4. And then we've got a 5. And now we're looking for a 6. So this 6 horizontally says these two can't be a 6. And there's a 6 vertically, which says these two can't be a 6. So the last one is a 6. Now we have this whole row solved except for the last one. So we can just count that out. We can see that we're just missing a 3. Okay. And then we just got the 2 bottom ones left. So we've got 1, 2, 3. We've got a 4 and an 8. Now see we've got an 8 at the bottom. So that 8 eliminates the center one and tells us that there's an 8 to the left, and that gives us a 4. And if we remember here at the bottom two, we're missing a 3 and a 4. So now we have a 3 and a 4 from the middle box that tell us this one can't be a 3, so it has to be a 4, and this one can't be a 4, therefore it has to be a 3. So I know I went kind of slow there. That is Sudoku. This was an easy game. They get much more complicated, but these are great ones to start with. Go through those steps, go through one at a time, and again, you might have to go backwards and forwards multiple times to get all of the answers, and to let them give you the answers. As you solve one little piece, you'll see that it gives you more and more answers. Don't try to force it. Just kind of follow the clues that they're giving you, and you'll see that it will naturally unfold and give you the answers. So I hope you have some fun. I hope you play some Sudoku and have some good time with that. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to subscribe and like, and we'll have some more fun with Sudoku. Thanks, folks. Have a great day.